What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Big Five Field channel where we speak the truth, we're honest, and we give our takes on the Miami Dolphins. I don't even think important is the word to use when it comes to this game this weekend. I honestly think the word to use, it's not even a word, it's a phrase. But this is a life or death game for the Miami Dolphins. And what I mean by that is, say they win against the Patriots this weekend. Okay, they are 1-1. There's a little bit of life. Maybe they can get a little bit of confidence in themselves going into Buffalo on Thursday night, where hopefully they don't get embarrassed on national television. There's the other part, there's the depth part where you lose this game, you're 0-2, and you're going to Buffalo 0-2, where more than likely you're walking out of that game 0-3. And this is the biggest game of Mike McDaniel's career as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. This Sunday's game against the New England Patriots is life or death for Mike McDaniel, because you flat out came unprepared last week against the Indianapolis Colts. You let Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts walk all over you. They embarrassed you. They humiliated you. They throttled you. They destroyed you for 3 hours last week. And you let them slap you around the face. You let them slap your team around the face on that football field. And the players, this is what's crazy. The players held a players only meeting on their day off on Tuesday. So, a players only meeting in week 1 is fucking rough, dude. After a week 1 loss, you got to hold a players only meeting in the beginning of September. I'm sorry, but Andrew Whitworth said it best on a podcast. If you got to hold a players only meeting, you're cooked. You are fried. It's over. And there is 100% panic in that organization, from Mike McDaniel and his answers this week to Tua Tagovailoa and his answers this week in the press conference. He came off very, very sensitive at the press conference on Wednesday. And he's probably feeling the heat right now, man. I feel like this is the toughest situation. This is the most pressure he's ever felt since the 2021 season, where there was all talks of Deshaun Watson, and when he gets traded, and him coming in, being the new franchise quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Right now, this is the most pressure that Tua Tagovailoa has dealt with since the Deshaun Watson since the shit with Deshaun Watson. And he's feeling the pressure, no doubt in my mind, because you heard him speak at the press conference on Wednesday. He felt panicky, and when he uses words like, I've had success against the Patriots, but I've never beaten Mike Vrabel in my career, that tells me that you're not confident in yourself. So I have no idea how this team is feeling going into this week. I have no idea how Mike McDaniel is feeling going into this week. I have no idea how Tua Tagovailoa is feeling going into this week. I know how the fan base is feeling. They are feeling like they are tired of this shit. This shit has ran its course. We deserve better as a fan base. So, for the sanity of the fans, this is a must win. If you want to put it for the fan perspective and how we are feeling with this, you must go out there and beat the Patriots on Sunday. I'm not saying I'm confident in that happening. I don't even think that's going to happen, to be honest with you. But what us as a fan base has been dealing with, it's not fair. It's impulsive. The head coach is a moron. He has no answers for what's going on right now. They lie to us all off season to sell to us that the culture is good. It's a new culture in Miami, and they lied. They used lip service for us to make us feel better going into the season. You know the catchphrase they've used? They talk, we do. Remember that. They talk, we do. Absolute fucking bullshit. A bullshit catchphrase. It's more that they talk or we talk to Miami Dolphins because they've ran their mouth all offseason. How the culture has changed. How you had to get bigger at the trenches. How they're going to be a physical football team. You can't use your words and not back it up on the football field. And they didn't back it up on the football field. And I told you all off season, I'm not going to believe it until I see it on the football field. And what did we see on the football field? We saw them be soft. We saw them not be a family. We saw them unmotivated. They were depleted when they went down 17-0. Toasted. Absolutely toasted. Tua fumbled the football, and then in 2 plays, the Colts got down to the 4-yard line. The game was over. It was flat out over when the Colts went up 17-0. And now you're going into a game this week where you got to hold a players-only meeting in week 2. That's not a good sign at all. Somehow Mike McDaniel was fired up on this, and it just means he's happy seeing the players get on the same page as with each other, but then playing a players only meeting, saying that they're not playing for their head coach anymore. They're playing for themselves. They're playing for the fan base. The head coach and the coaching staff is holding back this team. And this is what Mike McDaniel, this is what he had to say about the players-only meeting that happened this week.
I think player-led meetings are important. I think the gravity of this one in particular, it's something that we've done in the off season. It is a part of how we do things based upon my beliefs, and what maximizes investment is ownership. So I think it's important that players feel they have the ability and the desire to do that. So that fires me up. But in terms of, I think it's a little blown out of proportion with regard to the necessity with the whole framework of NFL season. It feels a lot different than 0-1 based on how we lost. So I think, and there's natural things with that you, those guys wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page and moving in the same direction. But that being said, you also have to have the sanity of recognizing, okay, you are 0-1. It's one game, and we have 16 guaranteed ones left. So
it's just a whole bunch of bullshit that he's saying right there, man. But somehow he's fired up over the players-only meeting, and they're probably like, regardless of the coach, we gotta play for each other. We gotta play for our families. Can't embarrass ourselves in front of our families. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Should be interesting, that's for sure. So we're gonna go over the injury report, and we'll get into the Patriots offense against the Dolphins defense, and we'll get into the Patriots defense against the Dolphins offense. And, I would talk a little bit smack about the Patriots. They came out, they looked very underwhelming last week, but I really can't say anything because my team absolutely humiliated themselves last week. So who am I to be talking trash about another team when my team looked like the worst team in the NFL last week? And they are the laughing stock of the NFL. They were the talk of the town Monday morning, going into Tuesday morning. They were the talk of the town on national media because of how bad they looked last week. And they're making these people, they're trying to prove these narratives and change narratives and all this shit. Yet here they are. They're proving everybody right that they thought about going into the season. They are backing up their words and thinking, you know what, you guys are right about this team. So they're making the national media look like complete geniuses because of the way they play on the football field. So let's go ahead and go dive into the injury report. Okay. Let me find it here. I just had it too. See if Travis Wingfield has it. Here we go. Got it. Travis Wingfield. You ever knew the injury report? Go to him on Twitter. So we'll start with the Dolphins. Because, of course, they've got more players hurt than the Patriots, dude. What's new? Storm Duck, Austin Jackson, Benito Jones, and Darren Waller are all out this weekend. By the way, Greer, I don't think I forgot about you. Great job on the Darren Waller signing. He's now missed 2 games. Julian Hill is tight end 1 on this team. And, just cut Darren Waller at this point, man. I'm so sick of it. It's Will Fuller all over again with his finger from 4 years ago. Just cut Darren Waller. He's more retired than he is not retired, trying to be active. Get his ass out of here, okay? I don't know if he feels like he's too good to be playing for the Dolphins, or I don't know how long it takes somebody to ramp up from retirement, but man, this is ridiculous at this point. I'm tired of the bullshit. Just fucking, let's cut Darren Waller. Let's call up Greg Dulcich on the 53-man roster because he had a awesome preseason for the New York Giants. And I was fired up when they signed him to the practice squad. But now, I'd rather have him on the 53-man roster than Darren Waller because Darren Waller is a broken down 34-year-old rapper who doesn't want to play football, and he's hurt again. So we have all 4 of them. They're out. Ethan Bonner and Jalen Wright, who Jalen Wright practiced today and yesterday. They're both doubtful going into this game. So hopefully we'll get Jalen Wright back for Thursday night. And then Ashton Davis is questionable with a knee injury. And then we go to the Patriots. And we have Keon White, and this is a big one, Christian Gonzalez, both out on Sunday against the Dolphins. The Patriots will not have Christian Gonzalez on the field. That is a big loss for the New England Patriots. However, I shit on the Colts secondary last week, and it bit me in the ass, so I'm not doing it again. And then we have Marte Mapu and right tackle, who they signed this offseason, Morgan Moses. They're both questionable. Mapu with a neck and Morgan Moses with the foot. So that is your injury report for the Patriots against the Dolphins. So, let's dive into this, shall we? We are going to first talk about the Patriots offense against the Dolphins defense. So, we have stats to report on this week. It's not week 1 anymore. So we're going into week 2. We now have stats to go over, and both sides of the football is going to be very ugly for the Dolphins. So, we have the Patriots offense, who's ranked 11th with 336 yards last week against the Las Vegas Raiders. The Dolphins defense is ranked 29th, giving up 418 yards last week against the Indianapolis Colts. The Patriots passing offense is ranked 6th with 278 yards in the air last week from Drake May. That is 6th in the NFL. The Dolphins defense, their passing defense, is ranked 25th, 272 yards. That's how many passing yards Daniel Jones had against us last week. The Patriots rushing offense is ranked 27th with 60 yards. So they only got 60 yards on the ground on the Raiders. And the Dolphins rushing defense is ranked 27th. They allowed 156 yards on the ground against the Indianapolis Colts. So, first of all, we look at the Patriots, and they've got a two-headed monster at running back. I wouldn't say monster, but they've got two running backs in the rotation, okay? Obviously, you got the veteran, Ramondre Stevenson, and the other one, young rookie, Travion Henderson, who, in my $100 fantasy league, I actually drafted in the 4th round. So I did draft Travion Henderson in the 4th round, and I am not shocked that he didn't get a lot of workload last week against the Raiders, but going into this week, I'm kind of expecting him to get a lot more carries. I'm not saying Stevenson's going to get less, but I do think that between the both of them, they only ran the ball 12 times. So, and the Patriots were playing from behind for most of this game. So, I understand why they had to throw the ball as much as they did, but I would expect bigger doses for both those guys, to be honest with you. And then Hunter Henry's their tight end. That scares me, okay? Um, the Dolphins aren't good against tight ends. Last week, Tyler Warren had 7 catches for 76 yards. And in recent memory, the Dolphins just don't guard tight ends well at all. They just don't. And Hunter Henry, I think it was him who had the long touchdown last year against us. It might have been Austin Hooper. But one of those two guys had like a 50-yard touchdown against us last year, and that was not a good look at all. You look at their receiving core, it's not that scary. Stephon Diggs is their top receiver, and he has fucking cooked the Miami Dolphins in the past. We all remember what happened in 2023, week 4, Kader Co, who was on him all game, letting up touchdown after touchdown. Stephon Diggs went off on the Dolphins secondary, and then you got Kayshon Boutte, who had 100 yards last week. Demario Douglas had a touchdown. You got Matt Collins. You got Kyle Williams, the rookie. And their offensive line's actually looking way better than it did last year. I remember how awful that Patriots offensive line was last year, and we fully took advantage of that. But this time around, I think things are going to be different. So, this Dolphins defense they allowed the Colts to score on every possession last week. The Colts had the football 7 times. The Colts scored 7 times. And I said it last week in the post-game recap, and I said it on Tuesday. If the Dolphins were playing a better team than the Colts last week, that score would not have been 33-8. That score probably would have been something like 45-8, if we're being totally honest here. They cannot do that again this week. They cannot allow the Patriots to score on every possession. They have to set the tone. First drive. First drive, you gotta have them punt. You cannot have this. You cannot go out there and allow the Patriots to score on their first drive. That's going to be a bad way to set the tone for the rest of the game for the defense. And Anthony Weaver has to have a better game plan for Drake May. Obviously, there's a lot of expectations for the Patriots going into this offseason with their new tackle they just signed, Travion Henderson they drafted, or Will Campbell they drafted as well, and Morgan Moses they signed. And then they go out and they sign Stephon Diggs. So, there's a lot of hype around the Patriots offense, and this Dolphins defense is going to have his hands full. And I really hope that Anthony Weaver has a game plan for this secondary because, they're not fucking good. And Storm Duck is out now, and Rasul Douglas, who they signed 2 weeks ago, is now playing a starting role, along with Jack Jones and Jason Marshall. This secondary is not good whatsoever. And if they put, I'm sure it's going to happen in the game, but Stephon Diggs lined up against Jack Jones or Jason Marshall scares the crap out of me. I'm sorry, it just does. I would think that Minka Fitzpatrick is going to be on Hunter Henry, and we'll probably rotate with corners, but Stephon Diggs in the slot against Jason Marshall, who looked lost last week. That really scares me as a Dolphins fan. That absolutely scares the shit out of me. So, let's talk keys for this defense, okay? I don't know if I'm going to have 3 or not this week, but here's the thing. Number 1, you cannot play soft. You talked all offseason how you are going to be a physical football team. You're not going to be a soft football team anymore. You were all talk in the offseason. You didn't back up your words. And a big example of them being soft was the secondary allowing 2 passes for 34 yards in a span of 34 seconds. And just like that, the Colts got from your 38-yard line down to the 4-yard line. That is soft football. That is not hard physical football at all. This team cannot play soft on defense. And that applies to the defensive line because they couldn't do anything on the Colts offensive line last week. Nothing. They got no pressure whatsoever on Daniel Jones. He had all the time in the world to stand back there and throw the football. So that implies the number 2. Man, this defensive line has to have a better game. Get pressure on Drake May. Make him make mistakes. Okay? He is a sophomore quarterback. He's still processing everything. He's got better weapons now. Kayshon Boutte is getting a lot better than he used to be. And he's a number 2 receiver on that team. Get pressure on Drake May. Please. Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Zach Sealer, Chop. We need to have a better game this week. We need to have a better game. And guess what? If you do get pressure on the Patriots and you're able to bring down Drake May and get home to Drake May, you're not exposing the secondary like you did last week. So, those are my only keys I have this week. Is you cannot be soft, and you got to get pressure on Drake May. That's all I got. So, The Patriots offense, yeah, they had a bad game last week, but they still are kind of good on paper. They have a really good offense. So I hope this defense, I hope Anthony Weaver is drawing up a great game plan for Drake May and this Patriots offense because it cannot look like it did last week. They cannot afford to let the Patriots score every possession of the game. They will lose. They will get blown out like they did last week. Let's go into this offense. And I cannot believe I was dumb enough to come on here last week and say I'm excited to see this Dolphins offense finally back in action. And I got myself excited for probably the worst game that I've ever seen Tua Tagovailoa play on a football field. And Mike McDaniel and horrendous play calling and no protection at all from the offensive line. It wasn't their fault, but they still fucking suck, the offensive line. So let's do some stats, shall we? The Patriots defense is ranked 26th in the NFL with 389 yards allowed last week against the Raiders. The Dolphins offense is ranked 30th. 211 yards last week against the Indianapolis Colts. That is flat out pathetic right there. Patriots passing defense is ranked 31st. 362 yards allowed last week against Geno Smith on the air in the rain, may I mind you. Dolphins passing offense is ranked 29th, 146 passing yards. Patriots rushing defense is ranked 5th, 56 yards on the ground against the Raiders, and the Dolphins rushing offense is ranked 22nd with 78 yards on the ground last week. Obviously, it is not good that we have our entire right side of the offensive line already banged up. James Daniels is on IR. Austin Jackson's not playing with that toe injury. So, what you're looking at this weekend is you are looking at Keon Smith and Larry Borom in there as your right side of the offensive line. Larry Borom is going to be your blind side tackle for Tua Tagovailoa this weekend. Y'all better pray this man makes out the game healthy this week because, I watched Larry Borom in preseason and he stinks up the joint every fucking time. He sucks. And he's worse than Liam Eichenberg. 100%. Worse than Liam Eichenberg. They brung in Cole Strange from the Browns practice squad, and he's not going to get the start immediately. I guess he's got to get up to task with the offense. But Keon Smith is going to be starting this week for the Dolphins against the Patriots. And what is terrifying for me is you look at that Patriots defensive line. It is really good. You got Christian Barmore, Crisis Tonga, Milton Williams, and Harold Landry. Milton Williams going up against Keon Smith, and Harold Landry going up against Larry Borom. That scares me. That scares me a lot. And it could be like last week, and I don't know how much time Tua is going to have in the pocket. And we might be seeing Tua deliver turnovers like he did last week against the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm worried. Now, Christian Gonzalez is not playing this week, and I'm not falling for what I did last week. I talked shit about the Colts secondary and how Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle were going to have big games. I'm not saying anything bad about the Patriots secondary this week because I don't believe in this game plan. I don't believe in Mike McDaniel to coach a good game. And, you know, I only got a couple keys. I got 2 keys. Number 1, don't turn the fucking ball over. For the love of God, you better not fucking turn the ball over. Tua, you might not be the quarterback of this team next year. And what you put out on the field last week was very uninspiring. And it made me question if you were even the franchise quarterback of this team. If you're worth it. You need to go out there. Tua needs to go out there with a fire under his ass this week. And not hold on to the ball. And be smart with the football. And then offensive line's got to protect. That's the second key. As you can tell my voice, I don't have faith in this offense. And I'm to the point now where I got to see it. And I'm sorry to be all down and not motivated for this offense, but after what I saw last week, how can I have any confidence in this offense, in Mike McDaniel, in Tua, in the offensive line? I don't have confidence in a single player on this offense outside of Devon Achane. Devon Achane is the only bright spot in this Dolphins offense. And you're going into this week with an offensive line of Patrick Paul, Jonas Avenea, Aaron Brewer, Keon Smith, and Larry Borum. I want to have confidence this week, but I just got a feeling the Dolphins offense is going to put up a stinker like they did last week. Again. I don't know, man. But that's all I got for you guys. That is your preview for Patriots Dolphins, and we will see what happens. If they lose this game and they lose to the Bills, Mike McDaniel is for sure getting fired. If they win this game, at least there's a little bit of life going into this Thursday night game next week. There's a little bit of life in this team going into next week. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, I'm going to be cheering for them to win, but it might be at the point now where we want to get Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer out the building as soon as possible. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you all so much for tuning into the preview. Be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Fuel channel. Comment down below your thoughts on Patriots Dolphins this weekend. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. And follow me on Twitter at Conlon_Joseph and TikTok Conlon_Joseph. I will be live tweeting during the Patriots Dolphins game. Hopefully it's not like last week and I stop tweeting once it's 23-0. So, I'm hoping for better results. That's all I gotta say. So, have a good night. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy. And go Dolphins. I'm out. Peace.